Hello, this is Linda Vettrus-Nichols, your education efficiency expert and creator of the Pattern Learner System, a variety of kits that support your child's innate capacity to learn. I believe that early intervention is key for ensuring that all children reach their full potential in math, reading, spelling, and handwriting. I have an amazing guest to introduce to you, author Gretchen Burman. Gretchen loves helping kids build their best self. As a mom, she is compelled to teach her children the social and emotional skills to manage life's ups and downs. After seeing the positive effects with her own family, Gretchen is reaching out to her community through her book, The Adventures of Ooga and Zeeta, and her workshops, as well as her school assemblies. Welcome, Gretchen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. This is going to be so good. I love your story because your story kind of comes from the freak out of, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant. I'm having a person, not a baby, a person. And what am I going to do with this little person to teach this little person courage? And what are you call them the 12 C's. What are they? Can you list them?
Sure. It's compassion, courage, confident, which was the first C I ever came up with. Just like, if I can teach her to be confident, believe in herself, then everything else really will follow.
Yeah.
Centered, careful, charity, comedy, communication, choices, cognitive.
That's okay. But I mean, that's like a really well-rounded list.
Yeah, that was my goal. That was,
yeah.
Yeah, it took me a year to come up with them. I mean, I really spent a lot of time thinking about what it was that I wanted to teach her. So I've done all that I can do as a parent, and not that she's going to be perfect in any way, but I've given her all that I can and taught her proactively and reactively the things that I thought were well-rounded and would make her a well-rounded, good citizen for herself and for others. And I had people help me. I remember I had the word character in there. My Aunt Ann was like, well, if you have the 12 C's and you have character, she's like, what about compassion? I was like, oh yeah. And then I had courteous in there, which is important. But then I was like, oh, I could teach her not to sweat the small stuff. And so I centered came about. And so then I tucked courteous under compassion. So it was a lot of thought that went into creating the 12 C's.
Very cool. And you moved on and you had another child too, right? So
yes. I have a now 4-year-old. So I have a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Fun. Very fun. So you're still in the thick of it. All right. So we're going to talk about be the boss of your thoughts for kids. And you know what? That goes for us too. So yes, the story is a great story that you wrote that, can be used with parents as well as the children, right? Yeah. And did your daughter help you with the book?
Did she ever help me?
Forever?
I mean, I can't even begin to tell you that I couldn't have done anything without her. First, I went to come up with the 12 C's from that worry. And then when I wrote the book, I mean, they're really stories of things that we went through as a family. I mean, under Courageous, the story is something that really happened when we were on vacation. And so I wrote it down, and I kind of just kept a log of various things of how and when we use the various C's, right, and how it helped us through different obstacles and also good things. Oh, I forgot, cherish is one of the C's. That's being appreciative and grateful. And so I wrote the stories, but she read through them and helped me edit them. Right. She helped me with the tips for kids and even the activities. I mean, everything has been blessed by her.
All right, so you are loved, and the whole thing all started for you as this great love for this baby to be, and how are you going to best love her and serve her, right? And then this huge goal comes through it, and it's so fun that your aunt jumped in on that, and so it's really been a big family affair. I love it. So tell me a little bit more about, the idea of you are special. What is it that you do for your kids, or even teach to kids in assemblies about how they're special?
I think confidence is, like I said, is so important. And I think teaching that young as possible is only going to benefit them. I think with age, a lot of confidence comes.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful, but I'm trying to instill awareness in younger children so they can build this foundation and build upon it.
Okay.
And then just get there sooner. Maybe not in 5th grade or 4th grade, but they'll have these tools that it's the foundation that will build upon it. And I just think these things are so important to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do, like literally anything is possible.
Right. So the confidence building in, what sets them apart from somebody else. Like, you can do this, and look, not everybody can do this. That's the thing with what we're good at. We think everybody can just do it. So having someone point out what it is we can do well, and that, not everybody can do that, so that makes it special. Like, even when we do it in front of somebody, like, I love this, how you do the handstand thing in your assemblies, and you've got your little characters, I love that piece. And it's like that building confidence, that you get across to the kids.
And we use this language. So, like, let's say, for example, she's struggling at something and then she overcomes it. And I go, which C was that? Did you just build? And she'll say confidence. And it's like, absolutely. I go, every time you try something new, you are, whether it turns out to be good or bad, you just built your confidence. And it's so important to do that and to acknowledge it and recognize that that was just a step towards that. Yeah. And then next time you're struggling, remember, you know what? I did that other hard thing, so I can do this hard thing.
Yeah.
And that is really what I'm trying to instill in her, that she can talk to herself when she's struggling, and that will help her get through her next struggle.
Yeah, I love it that you're doing like the positive self-talk. I mean, it's important to help children name their feelings and what feelings are and what emotions are. And this is a whole other thing to be sure and make sure your kids are understanding their positive and negative self-talk, and then how they can shift. So I love that. And then don't let anyone change you. So how do you go about teaching that?
I guess under cherish, appreciate who you are and what you have to offer the world. I mean, I'll just give an example. My daughter, and I hope she doesn't get mad, she plays with Barbies. And I love that because she's got an imagination. I mean, Ooga and Zeeta, I name those names because they're her imaginary friends.
Oh, okay.
And Ooga and Zeeta have been around for a long time. They don't hang out quite as much as they used to, but I mean, I used to have to give Ooga timeouts because he was being mean to Zeeta. I mean, it was a big deal. And so when I wrote the book, I had to name it that. But I said to her when she was saying that and kind of embarrassed about the Barbies, I was like, I want you to honor that part of you and don't compare yourself to others, because not everybody else is creative and it has an imagination, and that is a beautiful thing. And I want you to honor it and cherish it.
Nice.
And I so want her to accept herself for the way she is, because we don't have everything. So when you do have that, like, be like, yeah, I am good at that. So I think for me personally, I just think it's so important. So I want to try to instill that in her.
I love it. And then believe in yourself. How do you help the kids believe in themselves?
Well, the two characters you kind of mentioned, Green Glory and Red Rant, they are a big part of the book and everything that I teach, and it's positive self-talk and negative self-talk and mindset. And so when they say, I can't do it, or this is too hard, I will say, that sounds like Red Rant. How can you change it to Green Glory?
Yeah, again, naming it. I love that.
Yeah. And she helped me with the visuals of them as well. She helped design them, which is pretty cool. And
the cover, did she do the cover as well?
She designed Ooga and Zeeta. This is what was in her imagination. And Green Glory and Red Rant, I remember asking her, because we talked about negative and positive, and I was like, what does it look like to you? And she said green and red. And I was like,
Oh, there you go.
So my brain was going. And so I was like, red rant, rant, rah, 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 and green glory. Green reminds me of growth, and glory is greatness. So that's how I came up with those names. And she helped me, red rant, with the design of it. I mean, with the artist, she totally was in
So
everything.
cool. You have them in puppets now, puppet form. I mean, this is Green Glory right here on the slide with your logo.
Yes.
Show us the puppets. Do you have them handy?
I do.
Puppets.
So they're brand new. I have stuffed animals, but I'm really excited to introduce this to the kids.
Gorgeous.
So it's a puppet. And so, during my presentations, I use them and it's got arms, which is so cool.
Yes.
So that's Green Glory. And then Red Rant, and it's an owl. And I did that on purpose because they're wise and awake at night and all that good stuff. And this is Red Rant.
Kind of a monster. You look, yeah.
Yeah. And the kids have a smaller one. So when they do role plays,
Neat.
acting out what they each sound like, they get to have fun with that. That's a big fun thing for the kids, doing the role plays. A lot of fun.
I love it. All right.
Yeah.
So teaching the kids, they have the power to shift from that negative mindset, that negative self-talk, to positive. I love that. And then it's within you. So how do you, what do you talk about? What's within you? The power is within you then?
The brain, like after I've done all this research, I didn't know that this whole social emotional learning and character education even existed until I started researching.
Okay.
Because I came up with 12 C's, but then it was like, well, how do I actually teach her confidence and to have courage? I don't know. So I started researching, and I came upon this whole world, and Carol Dweck and mindset and the power of the brain and the neurons and how we can change our connections. And our brain is just so powerful that we can do something about it. And when we practice, when we hear a red rant, we can practice and change it to green glory. And so I want to teach children that their brains are so powerful. And this isn't me saying this is science.
Right. And
I think when kids realize that they do have this power and they just have to practice it, I think that's really empowering. That it's not just somebody saying it, it's truly science. Yeah. And that fascinates me. And I think that really grabs their attention, that they can do something about their feelings and how to handle them better.
Very cool. And so when you think you can't, you can, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard, like, when you think you can't, that this is that shift. These are your words. That's that shift that you're all about. When you think you can't, which is the red rant telling you this, that, and the next thing.
Yeah.
So that's the thinking, I can't do it. And then you have your green glory to tell you you can.
Yes. And it takes work. It's not easy. I mean, I have my red rant moments, and my goodness, I call them a red rant party. And my daughter will tell me, Mommy, that sounds like red rant. And I'm like, you're so right. And instantly it clicks in my head. And then it's like I can stop the party. And it's not a good party. It's a red rant where my thoughts are going in my head crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm able, and I actually wear this green ring because as an adult, it's not not a kid thing. It's not an adult thing. It's an everybody thing, that it's a constant something to work on. But when I'm feeling negative, I will think about the C, cherish, and I'll think of 3 things that I am grateful for. And I know doing that helps my brain. And so when I think I can't, I talk to myself and I say, Gretchen, I can. Mm-hmm. And I say positive affirmations and I say positive things to myself. And that gets me a little closer to being able to do what I thought I couldn't do. Yeah. And then I feel proud of myself when I do, because I had the courage and confidence to do it.
Perfect. And then you get to be good to yourself. Really, do the shift. That's being good to yourself. Listening to green glory and doing that piece is, again, being good to yourself. Cool. I love it. Okay. Are you good enough? Well, yeah, you're good enough just the way you are. So how do you get that across to children?
I mean, this is probably something like I've struggled with, feeling, good enough and so forth. So I really just try to, for my children, let them know what they're doing and who they are is good enough. whatever's going on in their body and minds. It's okay. It's okay to feel the way you're feeling. I hear you. We'll get through this. You'll get through this. You can do hard things. And I just try to say it as much as possible, because I think this is a really hard one for a lot of people, that you're good enough. And I think that is the confidence. And once you believe you are good enough, then again, everything else can follow.
Right.
And so I just really try to acknowledge when there's an opportunity to use this language. So she remembers it.
Good. Very cool. All right. And you can make a difference. Wow. You know, just one person. They had that guy from the Holocaust, and they had him in, have you seen that on Facebook, had him in the theater, and he had saved like 660 or something like that people's lives, just, you know, one at a time almost, I'm sure. And he probably had no idea it was even that many people. There they were.
Wow.
So incredible. And we just think, well, who am I? I'm only one person. And then we watch kids do something incredible and just like help so many people with an idea that like no adult even thought of. And it's very humbling, and it also just really sticks it to you. Yeah, one person really can make a difference.
And that's certainly my goal, to make a difference. I was at this workshop, and this woman, her son had gone through my program, and we all go around the table and introduce ourselves. And I said something about Green Glory, as I would want kids to take that away from the program. I was answering a question.
Right.
And she's like, oh my gosh, my son went through your program. And she's like, Green Glory is a part of our family now. And I mean, everybody at the table, it wasn't just moving for me, like everybody was moved.
Yeah.
Oh, my heart was so full. And I still see this woman, and Green Glory and Red Rant are still in a part of their life, because you never know, like, is it still going to be years later?
Yeah.
And that was awesome. They went to India, and she brought books for her friends that were there, and I signed the book. And so when I hear these stories, it is just unbelievably moving and keeps me going.
Yep.
You always wonder, is it making a difference? And I remind myself of this story. And then when my daughter tells me things and how she used the 12 C's, and she heard her Red Rant and then switched it to Green Glory. And that is, you know, if nothing else happens, my daughter, I mean, the initial intent was for my family.
Right.
And nothing is more amazing when you hear examples of how this is helping her.
So starting with one woman with one baby in utero to a whole lot of kids already and families. And it's, you know, it's one thing to do the school assemblies, it's a whole other thing to like get it into the families, in the homes themselves too. So you kind of like light the fire with the school assembly, but then, you know, getting the PTA to like put your book in the school, you know, what is it, when they're raising funds and stuff, you know, they'll do book sales and things like that. So really getting it into the homes, I think, is amazing. And I know your material works best even like 2nd to 5th grade, and the 1st graders is kind of an introduction to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just so people know, can you hold up the book so we can see it? And who did the artwork on the cover then?
So Crystal Lamonius did the artwork. She is still an art student, and we worked together.
Nice.
Quite a process. And what's cool about it is each of the stories, it's a story, but then in the illustrations, it's what does Red Rant say, and then how can they change it to Green Glory? Okay. And then, so I really like that before and after.
So these girls are Ooga and Zeeta. Are they girls then, and they're friends?
Zeeta's a girl and Ooga is a boy. They've changed ages multiple times.
Okay.
But so it was whatever goes on in her imagination. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're not. They're in a good place now, though. So that's good.
Okay. And so each of them has a Red Rant and a Green Glory.
Yes. And so just the different stories, sometimes they're about Ooga and sometimes the stories are about Zeeta. So it's through their adventures, how they hear their red ramp, but then choose to listen to their green glory and how that helps them get through their adventures.
Yep. Hence the adventures of Ooga and Zeeta. Yeah, I love that. That's good. And I'm glad you clarified all of that too. So there they are, the 12 C's: cherish and being careful and courageous and comedy, centered, communication, cognitive, compassion, charity, choices, confidence, commitment. I love it. And so thank you so much for this gift for everybody. It's a Character You mini toolkit where you'll have material to work with your child on three of the C's. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
There are some resources, so how to incorporate these 3 C's into your home, how you can use the language, some activities for a few other C's. So I think the activities was like 4 activities or 5 activities. And then some role play examples. So I believe practice makes permanent, and it has and there are different scenes. What?
I said, unfortunately, sometimes my background's special ed, so you practice the wrong thing and you make that permanent, we're all in big trouble.
That's good point.
It's flipped the other way for you. So
yeah. Well, with guidance, I mean, the book and even the toolkit, it really is meant to do with adult and child. I would be surprised if a child reads the book on their own. It really is meant for parent and child to read together, or teacher, but an adult with the child to read together, and then talk about it, do the tips for kids, and do the activities. It's meant to be used in that way. But the role plays, I mean, so I just gave examples of role plays, but certainly the adult can come up with their own issues that they see. But I just kind of provide some to get the conversation started. And the kids love doing the role plays. Love, love, love.
I love it.
It's a fun way for them to learn and practice in real life situations that are going to come up.
Right? Yeah, my kids are like, I could have grandkids by now. Like old grandkids.
Well, it's never too late. I use them all the time. I mean, even if Green Glory and Red Ran, it's K to 5. Like, I'm an adult and I totally use the language and think of the C. If I'm having a situation, I'm like, which C can help me? Or I need to center myself. Or I need to giggle and laugh at myself, you know.
Yeah, great adult tools. I love this. This is so wonderful. So thank you again, Gretchen, and thank you for this generous gift. This is so awesome. So all you do is just go to the character-u.com/mini-toolkit link, and you will find Gretchen's very generous gift.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun getting to talk about my passion and what I love to do.
Yeah, and I'm so glad your puppets are all done now too, and thank you for sharing them with us.
I worked with somebody from Romania and on Etsy, and it was just such a pleasant experience.
Oh, cool.
It was so wonderful, and it was awesome.
Oh,
it was cool, like just working with somebody so far away, and
yeah,
very happy with how they turned out. And the kids love them too.
Yeah, absolutely. I am sure, because they are just gorgeous, and they're a little bit oversized, and kids like things really teeny tiny or oversized. The best. So very cool. All right. Well, thank you again, my dear.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.